Mediterranean Sea, engulfing the Acropolis and other famous landmarks. Today, the winds have begun to shift and move the dust, with temperatures dipping. Let's speak to Niko Efstathiou, a journalist based in Athens. Niko, thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, the skies certainly behind you are clearly blue right now, but how bizarre to have those orange skies.
It's incredibly bizarre. I have to tell you, we have phenomena like this happening in the Mediterranean countries and in Greece, roughly 9 to 20 days a year, but never before have we seen such intensity in color. Now, even today, the sky is clear, but the dust hasn't quite settled yet, so you can sort of feel it in the sky. Here's something interesting about what happened yesterday night. So it wasn't necessarily the number of particles in the sky. So we've had more intense, sort of dusty days over in Athens, but it was two currents, one coming from the north and one coming from the south, carrying the particles that met over Greece and lifted the particles to a certain point in the sky, which created this sort of very orange sky that we saw, this hue that was incredibly intense. Many people were making parallels to the Dune universe or to sort of a Martian landscape. But it's certainly something that we haven't really seen before in such intensity. I also have to tell you, there are some health concerns. So people have been advised even today to wear masks if they have respiratory problems. These dust particles can cause sort of damages to those that have respiratory problems. So we do have to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, what was it like trying to move around with that, concentration of dust in the air?
It was quite difficult. I have to tell you, I walked my dog later at night, so after the sun had already set, but you could really feel the dust particles in the sky. So it was quite a quick walk. So yeah, it was quite uncomfortable. And even today, you can really see most of the Athenian cars sort of look like they have been drifting in the desert. They're covered in sand. It really is closer to the ground today than it was yesterday, so it was quite uncomfortable. I have to tell you, there's tens of thousands of deaths in the Mediterranean, in Europe every year that happen due to dust. So it's something that's not completely harmless. And something like 40% of those deaths in the Mediterranean countries happen because of this phenomenon, the African dust coming to the north, crossing the Mediterranean and arriving in our countries. An interesting question we're all talking about today: does climate change mean that these kinds of phenomena will be happening more frequently and with more intensity?
That was indeed my next question to you. Yeah, you mentioned at the beginning, that you hadn't seen the skies quite as orange as this before. So, is this happening more frequently or going to happen more frequently?
Scientists aren't really clear on this yet. We've been following the discourse. There has been a noticeable uptick in the frequency and the intensity of phenomena like this. As I told you, what we saw yesterday wasn't necessarily because of the quantity of the particles in the sky. We've had days where we've had more, but it was because of specific wind conditions and the sunset creating this very bright color. But I think it is safe to say that there's desertification concerns in the Mediterranean as well. So more scientists are pointing to the direction that we might be seeing things like this more frequently, and we have to get more prepared to be ready and also put sort of advisory systems in place or notices so that when days like this happen, people know and can equip themselves with masks or move around less frequently so that they stay safe, particularly those that are vulnerable or that have respiratory diseases.
OK, Niko, thank you very much. Niko Efstathiou with blue skies behind him today in Athens.